Hello, here we are again, and now we're going to continue looking at some of the verses of Song of Solomon. If this is the first time you've joined us to this exploration into Song of Solomon, then I do recommend you try session 1, just so you can get a brief background of the book of Song of Solomon and why we're here and why we're doing it. And yeah, I think it's worth doing and having a look at. But if you've already done that, let's go, shall we? Last week we were looking at verse 7, which says, "Tell me, you whom I love, where you graze your flock." So we're talking about the fact that this Solomon was also a shepherd. Well, he wasn't, but she was calling him a shepherd, because we know that Solomon himself wouldn't have looked after sheep. It was something that was despised. And yet we know our king is a shepherd. So we're moving on to verse 8. And this is where the friends, in my Bible, it says this is where the friends are talking to her. And it says, "If you do not know, most beautiful of women, follow the tracks of the sheep and graze your goats by the tents of the shepherd." And for me, this bit, follow the tracks of the sheep, is saying, look at those who've gone before. If you want to know where to feed, where to get the best food from, look at those who've gone before and follow them. Follow their tracks. And I remember a time I noticed that my spiritual walk seemed to go up, and then I'd have a crash and have a terrible time, then I'm really high. Maybe I read a good book or went to a conference and I was flying, and then I was back down again. And my spiritual walk, in fact, I stopped keeping a journal because I was so embarrassed, because one minute I seemed really high and the next minute I was so low. And I was saying to God, Lord, I don't understand why. Why is my walk up and down like this? And I believe he said to me to look at Celia and Christine. And the reason was because I noticed that they, particularly Celia, was constantly speaking the word of God in all conversations. She talked about God, what he was doing, and was confident of him, and just always remained positive in the truths of God. And I felt the Lord said, "What? How does she live her life?" And I knew that she was always reading a book about God, about somebody's testimony, watching or listening to DVDs, or maybe not DVDs, cassette tapes. If she heard that there was a speaker coming anywhere close by, she would go and listen to them. If she knew that the way they spoke was really inspiring and encouraging and uplifting. And I felt like he was saying, if you want more of me, you've got to give me more of you. You've got to throw yourself into this. You've got to fill yourself more. And of course, we know in Galatians, doesn't it? It says if you feed the spirit will be strong. But if you feed the flesh, then the flesh will be strong. So the bit that me that goes down is when my flesh is overcoming my spirit. When it's going up, it's when my spirit is overcoming. And that's why it's going up and down, because one minute I'm feeding the spirit by doing something that God encourages us to do, spending time with other Christians and being inspired by other people's writings or videos or what have you. And then when my flesh came in, when my own disappointments, feeling sorry for myself, self-pity or other things, when my flesh came in, then I would go down. So the way we're going to keep ourselves higher is to do the things that we see other people doing who keep higher. Sorry about my video wobbling, by the way. It's because I've got my laptop on my knee instead of on a chair next to me. Anyhow, so I think what happened to me was I felt he said, if you want more of me, give me more of you. And whatever it is that you're after, that you really feel you want to have more of in your life, for me it was the prophetic. I've always, since I first got saved, been really inspired with people who give prophetic words and words of knowledge, and people who can hear the heart of God and then share it to encourage other people. And I've always been fired up by hearing those stories. So that was what I needed to do, and I knew I had to follow the tracks of those sheep. The sheep that were following after the prophetic, I had to follow after them. So I got for myself, I just looked for books by people who I knew something about, so I knew that they weren't some crazy person who was talking about, I don't know, New Age prophecy or something like that, but someone who I knew had a good background and had been recommended by others. And then I started reading those, and when I found something that my own spirit resonated with and felt, yeah, this is the way I want to go, and this person is speaking my language, this person is saying stuff that my own spirit gets excited with, then I would look to who they look to and which people they spent time with. Whoever they mentioned in their books, they might mention that they'd read and been encouraged by a book by such and such a person. So then I'd get that book and I read that book, and I just devoured every book, every video. I started making myself go to conferences, which in the early days I struggled to be around people. I had, just before my life changed, I'd been through quite a few difficult times and an awful lot of responsibilities with both my parents, starting to suffer dementia, one with dementia, one with Alzheimer's, and having to take on those responsibilities. And there was just a lot of things going on, and I began to retreat into myself. I got quite agoraphobic. I didn't like going out. You know, there was sometimes I even would go, I would I would get to church with Rich, I would get to the door, and suddenly my heart would start to pound and this fear would grip me, and I would think, I just can't come in. I can't go any further. I can't do this. Sorry, just pause the recording while Richard comes in. Bear with me a moment.
Sorry.